Right then, time for a beer. Let's see what we've got in the fridge tonight. A few nice commercial beers, but this is the one I want to drink now. Stratasphere Double IPA by Steve Young. Oh yes. So yes, here we have a Stratasphere Double IPA from Mr. Steve Young. Lovely looking label on there. Must say it does look good in the glass as well. Nice orangey, thick white head on there. Pretty opaque, definitely in the kind of hazy double IPA sort of category, I would put this. And he's been kind enough to put the recipe on the back of here. I've had a few beers off of Steve before and they were absolute crackers, so I'm looking forward to this. And thanks again for sending me the Beermail, Steve, really appreciate that. I also got a KBS clone off of him, so definitely looking forward to that one. And I've got some 2 or maybe even 3-year-old KBS in the beer fridge still, so I might even do a side-by-side with that one. If I fancy getting really fucked up when I do the review. So anyway, Steve's been kind enough to put the recipe for this beer on the back. We've got some pale malt in there, 68% wheat malt, 27%, quite a bit of wheat, probably one of the reasons why it's pretty hazy. A bit of torrefied wheat as well. And then hops, Amarillo and Simcoe, 50 grams of each at 10 minutes. We've got 200 grams Strata dry hop for 3 days, cold crash for 2 days. It was pressure fermented and finished in 5 days using Cross My Loose 5 yeast, which is basically their version of USO5, as you would probably guess from the name. 43 IBUs. Surprised it's not a little bit more actually, with 100 grams going in 10 minutes, but then I guess that does depend on the how high the alpha acids were on that. So yeah, I've been waffling a bit and moving the camera around and stuff, but it's still holding a nice creamy white head on the top there, and yeah, looks great. On the aroma, interestingly, I was expecting it to be like full-on citrus fruit and kind of piney dank stuff going on, but there's actually a little bit of a kind of creamy, it actually makes me think of beers that have got Sabro in them rather than Strata, but this doesn't have any of that in and doesn't have any hops that I would have expected to give you that aroma. But yeah, it's got a kind of creamy, fruity aroma to it, maybe a bit of apricot. It's almost like a kind of apricot yogurty kind of aroma with a little bit of citrus on there, which is a bit different, but it's very pleasant. Anyway, it is quite cold as well. This has literally just come out of the fridge. I keep forgetting to let the beers warm up a bit before I pour them out, but that might be just changing or maybe restricting the aroma a little bit coming off of this. But let's dive in and get a taster. Again, the aroma that's come through there is very much there on the taste as well. So it's got really interesting kind of creamy, almost yogurt-like taste to it. Again, the yogurty thing, I wouldn't have been surprised at all if this had been brewed with the verdant yeast, because I know that can give you a little bit of that sort of yogurty tang sometimes on the beer with the esters. But it's not, so it's a pointless thing to say, but anyway. Definitely getting that apricot vibe again. There is a bit of orangey flavour there too. Very restrained bitterness for a kind of double IPA. But there's enough there for you to know that it's not a NEPA or something like that. If I was being really picky, 7.1%, a little bit low for a double IPA. So I think generally speaking, you would say you'd want your double IPA above about 7.5% if you were going to be, you know, strictly sticking to the dreaded style guidelines. But yeah, so maybe a slightly higher ABV, and then maybe you'd have the IBU slightly higher to go with that, but doesn't really matter. It works for me flavour-wise at the moment, and it does kind of have the impression of a double IPA rather than a normal IPA because of the amount of body that's in this beer. So it's got a really big kind of mouthfeel, lots of body to it. I would guess that the massive amount of wheat that is in there is probably contributing to that as well. But yeah, what I find interesting about this beer is it's not really got the flavour profile that I was expecting from the Strata Hops, because I've had a few commercial beers with these in, and they seemed a little bit more kind of dank and, you know, very grapefruity, to me anyway. Whereas this comes across to me a little bit softer, a little bit smoother. Like I said, I get kind of maybe a little bit more stone fruit. There's definitely some orange and citrus there as well, but I don't get the kind of piney dankness with it. It's more like apricot, maybe even a little bit of peach and orange, but then also this kind of interesting kind of creamy yogurty kind of vibe, which goes along with the mouthfeel and I guess the fairly restrained bitterness on it. Yeah, so an interesting and slightly surprising beer, but very, very nice and very drinkable as well. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Steve. And I look forward to trying out that KBS clone, and hopefully I'll get a video done for that as well at some point soon. So cheers, everyone.
I'm the dude. So that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or duder or, you know, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.